Hello and welcome to We the People. The United States military recently decided to open its doors to women in combat roles. There are several other countries who already allow this. Countries like Canada, countries like Israel, countries like New Zealand. In India, the battle for women in combat roles is threatening to be a very long and arduous one. At the moment, the government's stated position, and indeed the military's mind, is that women cannot be inducted into combat roles. Further, there is even a huge battle on in the courts for a permanent tenure for women. Permanent tenure is now being offered to women in the future, those who joined after 2006, but only in select roles. On We the People today, we ask why one of our most beloved institutions, the military, otherwise looked at as an institution that we all trust, honor and respect, why is this institution now being accused of being discriminatory to one half of our population, namely women? Should women be allowed into combat? Does the military need to change with the times? Let me start with Air Marshal Barbora. When you made a certain comment about why women should not be inducted into combat roles, you were really attacked by a number of women who got very angry, maybe a number of men as well, and you essentially said the time is not right. Women are biologically different. Women have children. These are things that are not compatible with the needs of combat duties. You then subsequently apologized, saying it was your personal view. Why, sir? Why would you say this to women who already, for example, in the paramilitary, serve in any number of conflict zones? In the police, they tackle issues of terrorism, for example. So why would you make this statement when the President of India has been a Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces as a woman?
I must give full credit to the media because they did some fantastic cutting and pasting of my that talk comment, which I gave that day. And before I realized anything, I thought I'm going to be lynched outside. But
it may still happen, sir.
You never know. You never
say
know.
It again.
You never know. You never know. Well, I was only talking of the Air Force at that moment of time.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that was the so-called the opening for the president.
Flying the Sukhoi.
Was going to fly the Sukhoi.
Exactly. So that's the irony.
No, the fact is, firstly, anyone can fly. And I didn't apologize, please. I said those were my views on the subject. It was not an apology. The second thing I want to bring about is I signed the papers on 2 lady pilots who have joined combat helicopter crowd today.
Yeah.
And I had approved that, not because of any other reason, but I found them to be very competent. And I said that time also.
You said maybe one day we will be ready, not yet.
Look, in India, we never rush. Everything, our history of 5,000 years tells us that please go step by step. What happened in Pakistan? They had 7 fighter pilots who joined as ladies. Today, not one exists. There are some reasons. There are fighter pilots in the world, like you said, in some countries they are there, but they are operating in an environment, say in Afghanistan. There's a squadron commander on an aircraft carrier of the United States, a lady. But Afghanistan, does it have any air opposition?
So you're saying these are not really combat roles? I mean, is that...
So when we talk of combat role, we are talking of direct in the line of fire, face to face with the enemy. Just think back, what was the hue and cry in this country when the soldier's head was beheaded? You know by who and when. What would have happened if it had been a combatant who was a lady?
Hold that thought, because you've posed an important question.
Yeah,
and I want to take it to the people around.
No,
what
I'm
would
just
have
saying,
happened?
this whole country may have gone up into flames. We may have gone to war, because it would have been unacceptable to the Indian for a lady soldier, forget the beheading, if anything else done beyond that.
Okay, Meenakshi Lekhi, you've been in court fighting on behalf of a number of women military officers who are saying at least give us permanent tenure. Air Marshal raises an interesting question. Implicit in his statement is the argument. If men are beheaded, well, it's of course unacceptable, but somehow the capacity of a country to absorb that is different from this if the same thing happened to a woman. I could counter-argue that and say that when a woman signs up for the military, for the police, for the paramilitary, she knows that inherently her life is at risk, and she is signing up knowing that. Should we be denying her that because somehow we feel we're not culturally or emotionally ready?
The case which is pending in the Supreme Court is about women officers who have been absorbed by the government in non-combat roles or support arms.
Yes.
Now, Air Marshal's voice would be different if there's a lady officer sitting in ATC. Why should permanent commission not be given to her? Education Corps, you've already got lady officers, which you are willing to give permanent commission.
Tenure to, yeah.
Now, an AEC officer is right in the trench, right ahead, and if any officer can be caught, an officer who's not on permanent commission can also be caught by Pakistani army. So I think there's a logical failure in what Air Marshal is saying.
But are you distinguishing between asking for permanent tenure and asking for combat?
You see, I am saying combat can come subsequently. I have no objection to that. But those officers who are already in tenure, who you have absorbed as engineers, signal, logistics, where you have taken the women, it is discriminatory not giving them permanent commission.
Quick response from you, Air Marshal, that, okay, combat we're going to debate.
I tend to agree with her in totality.
So you would support permanent commission for women?
I will support permanent, actually now I can say anything I want to since I'm not there in uniform any longer, but I actually may be one of the instigators that once the Supreme Court passed the order, I think in 2009-10, Indian Air Force was the first service to have accepted that. I'm not going to talk about the Army or the Navy. I am totally for that. Why not permanent commission? In certain branches, like Ms. Lekhi has very rightly said, please give them.
Kiran Bedi, this cherry picking. You've been a police officer and you've often been described as a tough cookie. And nobody's... But it's a phrase. It's a phrase and it's a compliment. That you're tough. Now you're hearing from the Air Marshal saying, all right, maybe it's, we need to accept permanent tenure, but they have to be for select areas. And he raised this question for us. If that soldier at the line of control had been a woman, would this country's capacity to absorb it, still with anger, still with rage, have been different?
I think it's a problem with the men. The woman is, if the woman is ready and she's capable and she's competent, she's willing to give that sacrifice. The problem is with the men, because their psyche is very protective. What do they do with her? If she's injured, what do they do with her? How do you alter the male psyche today to handle an injured female soldier? I think that's the issue.
I think it's slightly... The issue is if it is not the male officer or the male gender in the forces.
Yes.
Is this nation ready to accept a lady combat
What
soldier?
if the woman is ready to accept it, sir?
Sorry?
What if the woman walks into that conflict zone,
it's not
knowing that this could
we are
happen?
talking of this
But is it the
nation,
woman's choice or is it the nation's sentiment?
the nation reacting when that head was served? Vis-a-vis if it was a lady.
But isn't Kiran getting to the center of it when she says that essentially the response of society, even when it treats women well, is a protective one, and some women may find that patronizing?
No, not only that, you see, women are sitting right on the border. Taking, convoys on the, say, Kargil and all these areas. Women, lady officers are taking the convoys. When we talk of BSF and other command forces, they are sitting on the border and they can be hit any time. So they are taking the chance, but under this shadow, they are not giving them permanent commission. And till the age of, say, 30 plus, 30, 35, you're retiring them. It is the youth which they are giving to the nation, which I find very funny.
Now, Wing Commander Anupama Joshi, you actually went to court. You were among the first people to actually, begin a legal battle to say, hang on, I want to serve longer. You're retiring me before my time. Kiran makes the point that it's a mindset. It's a mindset that you're grappling with. What's been your experience with this mindset?
To be honest, Barkha, the thing is, when we are talking about combat, I want to just pause here and say that military in itself, specifically the Air Force, because I served there for 15 years, they are still hoodwinking to the fact that they're not giving a permanent place to the women. I won the case in 2010. As on date, if they say they've given a permanent place to a women officer, they're being wrong, because they've given permanent place to women in a selective number of women. Now, let me tell you this magic number of 2006. The policy inside the Air Force said that SSC men will be given
SSC being short service commission.
Men will be given permanent commission, whereas short service commission women will not be given permanent commission. So when I brought up this point and said this is a gender discrimination, so they said, okay, we should not have gender discrimination. In 2006, the policy comes that the men will not get permanent commission. It's like
then the High Court order comes,
then
and
the
it
High
says
Court order comes and says that
in 2010. Okay, tell us that story. The first day when you go into your office, you wrote about it.
Yeah.
And tell us that.
It was really strange. I was posted to 36 wing, which is at Baroda, and I landed with my luggage and I asked the orderly, pilot officer Joshi का कमरा कहाँ पे है? So he says, आपको चाबी नहीं दूँगा, साहब कहाँ हैं? So I said, मैं pilot officer Joshi. He said, नहीं मैं वो समझ रहा हूँ. He was not ready to listen to me. He said, मैं वो समझ रहा हूँ, मैडम पर साहब कहाँ है? साहब कहाँ है?
And you said there's no sahib. मैं ही साहब हूँ.
मैं ही साहब हूँ.
Kiran, did you experience the kind of mindset you're talking about?
Oh, I was a champion. I didn't let that happen. Otherwise, if we had allowed it to happen, I would have been run over completely. But from day one, I said no ladies first, ladies equal. So I used to stand in the equal queue all the time.